Kira and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be spreading some positive vibes and talking to you about some of my favourite things from the month of June. And I feel like I say this in every single monthly video type thing that I do, but I just can't believe that June is already over, and to be perfectly honest, we're almost halfway through July, which is just a little bit wild, and time just seems to be running away. But we're working with it, and June was a really good month for me. It was super busy, and when I came to the end of the month and tried to look back on it, I couldn't believe how quickly time had gone, because it was a super busy month for me, mostly because it was the final month of my yoga teacher training, which definitely took up quite a lot of my time. But even amongst all of the studying and prepping for my exams and stuff, I still found plenty of things to enjoy, so I'm going to talk to you about all of them now. So as always, we have 7 categories, and I'll be telling you my favourite things from each of those categories from the last month. So we have my favourite food, my favourite book, my favourite TV show, my favourite general life product, my favourite YouTube channel, my favourite podcast, and also my favourite song from the last month. So without further ado, there are plenty of things to talk about and lots of positivity to share, so let's get straight back into it. So kicking it off with my favourite book from the month of June, I actually read a book at the very beginning of the month which really stuck with me right throughout the rest of June because it was just so incredible, and so that is of course my favourite book of the month, and that book was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I would describe this book as being absolutely ideal for anyone looking for a form of escapism, because this book really does just transport you into an entirely different world, I think. And I feel like that sense of complete escapism in the form of a book is just really nice, particularly at this current time that we're in the world, given that we are all going through this global pandemic, and I feel like the world can just seem a little bit turbulent and uncertain. Finding a form of escapism in some form of like fiction, so whether that is a book, a TV show, maybe a song, it's just really nice to have that little sense of escapism where you really feel like you can be transported into an experience that's completely different from what we're going through in the real world right now, and this book absolutely did that for me. But even just in normal circumstances, I still think this book would be absolutely incredible, because it is just so powerful when a book can absolutely take you to another place and really just immerse you in the world that the author has created, and Erin Morgenstern absolutely did that without a doubt. I've tried to describe this book a few times and I really struggle because I feel like it really crosses a few genres. It's a book which is set in the 1800s, so it of course touches on the genre of historical fiction, but it also has a lot of fantastical and magical elements, and I think it comes somewhere in between a full-blown fantasy and like an urban fantasy or magical realism, so it really does pull a few genres together in a way which I just found to be so captivating. As the title would suggest, this is a book which is about a night circus, which is this incredible magical circus which essentially just like pulls up in a town and stays for an undetermined amount of time. There's no warning of its arrival, it just turns up one day, and the unique part about this circus is that it's only open at night time, so you can only go between the hours of like dusk and dawn, and when it's light no one is allowed in. But aside from that, the circus itself is just completely magical and is unlike any other circus any of its attendees have ever experienced before. And this is where this entire form of escapism really comes in, because it does feel like you as a reader have been transported into this extremely magical and unique circus experience, which is just so incredible. The imagery that Erin Morgenstern uses is so vivid that you do feel like you are experiencing the circus for yourself. And then there is also a magical competition element to the story as well, which is kind of underpinning the entire narrative, but it's a very mysterious one, because the competitors in this competition don't really understand what the aim of the competition is or how they can win it. And so there are so many different elements to this book. We also have multiple different perspectives from people who are involved in the competition, people who are creating the circus, people who are attendees at the circus, and so we see this night circus from so many different angles, which just gives you such a vivid and just incredible image of this circus, and it is just such an incredible reading experience. Like I said, it is just so absolutely immersive and vivid, and is just such a great way to just fully immerse yourself in a fictional experience. I feel like it doesn't happen that often where you find a book that truly transports you into a fictional world. Like, you can enjoy books and appreciate them, but it doesn't happen to me that often that I feel like I've really experienced what the characters are going through, and with this book it really did that for me. So it was incredible and I would highly recommend it. So next up we have my favourite foodie items from the month of June, and I said items because as per usual I've really struggled to narrow it down to just one, so instead we have two because I just love food so much. Although technically we do have one drink and one proper food item, so I guess we can let that slide. So starting off with the drink, it is actually the drink I have here in my hands right now and have been very much enjoying throughout the month of June. It's a super cosy and delicious drink which I have just been obsessed with, and it's been so necessary because here in the UK we seem to get our proper summer months this year in April and May, so we had heat waves, really hot sunny days, and it was delightful. And then when we got into June we were hit with loads of cold, gloomy, rainy days, which isn't exactly what you expect or want from June. However, I actually really enjoyed it because I do think sometimes it's nice to just have those gloomy, rainy days outside so that you can feel nice and cozy inside with a good book, good TV shows, and of course a delicious hot drink. So the hot drink of choice for me, which I have been absolutely obsessed with, has been a chai latte, but with a little bit of a twist. I absolutely love chai at the moment. It is just without a doubt my drink of choice whenever I go out to any cafe, but I've also been loving making it at home. You can buy pre-made chai mixes, but I've actually just been making my own spice mix and it is super easy. For my one, I've just gone with a combination of cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, mixed spice, cloves and cardamom, but you can of course just go for whatever spices are good for you. And then I just add a little bit of sweetener, usually it's maple syrup, just a tiny bit to the chai mix, and then mix it in with some oat milk, heat it up, stir it until all of those spices have been combined. But you only want to fill about 3/4 of your mug with that mixture. So you add that into the mug, and then if you have a milk frother, perfect. You're going to put the other 1/4 of the mug size of milk into the milk frother. I always use oat milk because it's just the best one in my opinion. And if you don't have a milk frother, then just add it to a pan just to heat it up. And then you're going to add a very generous serving of maple syrup into that oat milk. I'd say like at least a tablespoon, if not more, but I am a big maple syrup fiend, so you might not want quite as much as I do. But then you either froth or heat up that milk, and you basically just allow that to turn into the most delicious oaty maple milk that you will have ever tasted. And then you of course add that maple oat milk into the rest of the chai latte, and you have the best drink you will ever taste. I am not lying. The maple oat milk is good enough to drink on its own because it is just so sweet and mapley and delicious, and I would and have just drunk that on its own. But when you then add that to the spicy chai latte, it is on a whole nother level. I add a lot of cinnamon to my chai because I just love cinnamon so much, and so when you combine that cinnamony chai latte with the maple oat milk, it just tastes like a cinnamon roll in drink format, and it is honestly out of this world. So that has been my drink of choice throughout June, although like I said, we are already in like mid-July and I'm still going strong on this obsession because it's just so good. And then the foodie item that is actually a food that I've been enjoying this month has been this blueberry muffin flavoured almond butter from the company Pip and Nut. I am such a nut butter addict. Like, I love nut butter. I'd say significantly more than the average person, and Pip and Nut make the most incredible flavoured ones. They have previously done a crunchy maple almond butter and it is so good, and I'm still obsessed with that one. And that one was originally limited edition but then got made permanent because people loved it so much, and so I'm hoping that will be the case with this limited edition blueberry muffin. But it literally is so incredible. My favourite way to enjoy this one has been on smoothie bowls and yogurt bowls. So I'll have my smoothie bowl with some fruit on top and also some granola, and then just a drizzle of this on top, and it is just incredible. I didn't think that an almond butter could taste like a blueberry muffin, but they've somehow done it with this one, and it is so incredible. So next up, I'm going to talk to you about my favourite YouTube channel from the month of June, and the channel I'm going to talk about is not one that I found in June. It's a channel that I've been subscribed to for a really long time and have just absolutely loved for all of that time because it is just absolutely incredible. But I particularly found myself absolutely binge watching all of the videos on this channel in June, rewatching old ones and of course enjoying all of the new ones, and that channel is Grackle. Grace, who runs the Greco channel, is just such an incredibly hilarious person, and her personality is so positive, and that positivity is just so infectious. So I would highly recommend this channel if you ever want to just feel like a boost of positivity, because you just can't watch a Greco video without feeling like insanely positive afterwards, because she just has such an infectious positive personality, which is just incredible. So on Grace's channel you'll find a very, very unique selection of videos. Her videos are usually done in vlog format, but she has such an interesting range of videos. There are a lot of unique week-long challenge videos, which I find really interesting to watch. But I actually found her channel originally ages and ages ago now, because she used to do a lot of realistic what I eat in a days. I love watching what I eat in a days regardless of what they're about. I just find it so interesting to watch them, and I of course love to make them here on my channel as well. But what I loved about Grace is that they were so realistic. I feel like what I eat in a days and the general food sphere on YouTube can often be very much focused on health, perfect food, Instagrammable food, things that are super expensive and difficult ingredients to find, and they just seem a little bit out of touch, whereas Grace's ones literally were so realistic, just everyday food that she would eat just whenever, and it just felt like a really lovely breath of fresh air and just very authentic to her and her personality. So I always enjoy watching them. She's also done some really fun foodie challenges, like trying out vegan food for a week and other things like that, and then she also does non-food related challenges like trying out cool outfits, dressing like TV and film characters, and she's also done some like health debunking challenges like the celery juice one as well. And everything she does is just so funny, so realistic and so upfront. She also has a super hilarious family that all feature in the vlogs as well, and honestly she just seems like a really authentic and lovely person. Her channel has been growing a lot recently, and I can 100% see why, because like I said, she just has such a lovely personality that is so much fun to watch, and I'm so glad that the channel is really, really blowing up. And she also has a vlogging channel called Extra Grec, where she features just more like standard day in the life vlogs rather than the challenge focused ones that you'll see on the main channel. So I'll highly recommend both of those channels, and they'll both be linked down below. But yeah, I just love Grace's channel so much, and it is just so positive and so much fun to watch. So next up we have my favourite general life product from the month of June, and I'm actually gonna have to put my chai latte down for this one because it's quite a sizable thing and I'll need both hands to show you. So like I've already mentioned, I completed my yoga teacher training in June, and I'm now a fully qualified yoga teacher, which is really exciting. And so I'm sure you'll be able to guess that yoga is of course a big part of my life. I practice it mostly daily, and I do a lot of yoga, and it's really important to have good yoga equipment to use for your practice when you're doing it so often. And so for my birthday at the end of May, I was given a new yoga mat, which I was so excited about, but because I only got it at the end of May, I hadn't had enough chance to use it and feature it in that May favourites video, and I wanted to give it a full month just to try it out and see what I thought of it, because it is quite an expensive yoga mat, and that mat is the Lifeform mat. Now this is quite large, so what I'm going to do is just insert a clip of what it looks like when it is fully out, because it is a nightmare to unpack. Well, it's not a nightmare to unpack, but it would be right here because I would just be covered in all of the mat. So I will insert a clip of it because it is absolutely beautiful. I got the White Magic one, which is a white mat with gold detailing, and it is so beautiful. But like I said, it's an expensive yoga mat. I have other yoga mats. I have quite a few, to be honest. This is my 4th yoga mat, and all of the other mats I've got are slightly on the cheaper side. I have 2 mats from Amazon, and they were the cheapest ones I got. They were about £14, and they do the job absolutely fine. They look really nice because they have a cool pattern on them. However, I've had them now for going on like a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer, and both of them are starting to fade. The pattern is kind of rubbing off, and they are really, really like slippery, and you can feel in downward dog and other arm balances your arms kind of like sliding out ahead of you. And so of course that's not the best, especially if you're wanting to practice balances or you're wanting to do handstands and things like that. You want something where you feel that you've got good grip and that your hands are not going to slide out from underneath you. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with the mats that I do already have, but I wanted one that was really, really really nice quality. And so for my birthday, Jay got me the Lifeform mat, which was over £100, so a significant increase on price from the other mats I have, but I really do feel like in this instance you definitely pay for quality. This mat is so grippy, like your hands and feet are not going to move from where you put them unless you move them yourself, like they're not going to be sliding out from underneath you. It is of course a really, really beautiful mat, which isn't the most important thing when you're buying a yoga mat. You want one that is doing the job properly. However, these ones do look beautiful, which is really nice, and all in all, I've just been so happy with the mat. It is just really nice quality, and I feel like it's one that's going to last me for a really long time because it's not made from the same spongy material that other yoga mats are, and so it doesn't fade or rub down as much. It's a lot more sturdy, and I just feel like it's going to be a very, very long-lasting addition to my yoga practice, so I absolutely love it. Like I said, definitely investment and probably not something that you'd consider buying unless you were, like a serious yoga practitioner and you knew that you were going to be practicing yoga quite often. But if you do practice yoga often, then it could be a really worthwhile investment because it is just a really, really good mat. So next up we have my favourite TV show from the month of June, and in all honesty, TV did not play a very big part in my life in June because, as I've already mentioned, I was really, really busy that month, and so when I'm busy, TV just isn't a huge priority. I definitely spend a lot more time watching YouTube than TV, and YouTube is also really great when you're busy because of course you can find videos that are only like 15 minutes long or something like that. It's just a lot easier to slot them in when you have a few minutes break, whereas I feel like TV seems like more of a commitment. However, one thing that Jay and I did watch throughout June, which was very lighthearted and fun, was that we finally got back into watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This is a show that we've watched for quite a long time now, but the newer series was recently added onto Netflix, and so we finally sat down to watch that, and it was just really nice because again, it's lighthearted, it's fun, and it's also not super like commitmenty, if that makes sense. The episodes are short, it's a lighthearted comedy, there's not too much going on, so you can just easily sit down to watch that whilst eating dinner, sit down, watch one episode, and then turn it off and get back to the rest of your life. So I really did enjoy watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that was pretty much the only TV show that I committed to throughout June. The rest of the month was pretty much just a YouTube month as far as I can remember. So next up we have my favourite song from the last month, and kind of like TV, I feel like I didn't really come across all that much new music throughout the month of June, and I think predominantly that comes down to the fact that because of lockdown in the UK, I haven't been driving as much, I've not been doing a long commute to and from work, and so I haven't been listening to the radio as much or hearing any new music, so I've mostly just been listening to songs that I've already mentioned and songs that I've been listening to for years and years. However, one place where I feel like I have been coming across more new music has been on TikTok. Pretty much every evening before bed, me and Jay sit down for TikTok o'clock, where we just scroll through TikTok and watch some just before bed because it's always so funny, and kind of like YouTube, it's just really easy to watch. You can just watch a little bit of it, it's super fast and quick and very fast paced, but also just so hilarious. But there are of course loads of songs on TikTok which are becoming increasingly popular, which I think is really, really fun. And the one song that I'm talking about particularly is called Surrender by Natalie Taylor. This song is so up my street because it's really, really chill and just has such a like calming and slow vibe, but it also just has like a lot of personality to it, and it has immediately been added to my yoga teaching playlist because I just think it is like a perfect yoga song. It's really, really like I said, a chill, calm, acoustic-y, but it also feels like it has a lot of energy behind the words, and so I really, really like this one, and I'm honestly coming across so many great songs on TikTok, so I'm loving it. It's hilarious and a great way to find new music. So if you've got any good TikTok song recommendations, definitely let me know. Although I will point out I am absolutely not a TikTok dancer because I just cannot dance. So last but certainly not least, we have my favourite podcast from the month of June. Now I believe I mentioned in my May favourites video that my podcasts are something that I usually listen to on the commute to and from work, which is of course something that I'm not doing at the moment because, like I've mentioned, we are still on lockdown. I am going to be going back to work at the end of this month, but for the month of June I wasn't at work, and so I didn't have a commute to listen to my podcasts on. So instead I've just been trying to find different ways and different places to insert them into my day-to-day life. And one thing I have had a lot more time to do during the month of June and just during lockdown in general is that I've obviously been at home more often, so I've had way more time to get creative in the kitchen with cooking and baking. And I feel like cooking and baking can be tasks where you just allow your brain to unwind and kind of like a bit of a meditative task. However, they're also something that doesn't require a huge amount of attention, and so you can do something else alongside it. That of course could be watching TV or a YouTube video, but I've been trying to listen to podcasts whilst I'm baking. And it's just a really fun way to get some baking in, but also feel like I'm learning and being a little bit productive as well. And because of course I'm baking and thinking about delicious food, I've been listening to one of my favourite foodie podcasts. This was actually the very first podcast that I really got into and that made me love podcasts. And there actually isn't a series currently being released, so I've just been listening to old ones that I hadn't gotten around to yet. But it is just such an incredible podcast, and that is Talking Taste Buds by Venetia Lamanna. Venetia is just such an incredible person. I follow her across all of social media platforms. On her Instagram, she does a lot of work with encouraging people to take digital detoxes, which is something that I'm definitely wanting to do in the near future because I feel like it's so easy to spend all of your time scrolling. So I love her on Instagram for that kind of inspiration. She is also a vegan and has a YouTube channel, which I'll also link down below, which I absolutely love watching. She talks a lot about, of course, veganism, but also zero waste living and trying to cut down on your impact on the environment, which I think is something that I'm really, really interested in and just love that inspiration. And she just has such a lovely way of exploring so many interesting ideas. On her podcast, which is of course called Talking Taste Buds, food is a key subject and is something that comes into every single episode of the podcast. But she also talks to people in so many different industries about so many interesting things, and it is just so captivating. Like I said, she's a vegan, so she's talked to a lot of vegans, she's talked to activists. She recently did a podcast with Ivana Lynch, who a lot of you might know more for playing Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter, but she is also a vegan activist as well. She's also done podcasts talking to business owners. She's spoken to Ella from Deliciously Ella. She's talked to personal trainers, people who have started incredible food startups like HelloFresh, Wicked Healthy, which is a brand in Tesco here in the UK, and also The Happy Pair, who are an Irish set of twins who have like an incredible food business, and also the people who created Bosch. And there are just so many interesting topics. She's talked to people who are activists in fashion, trying to sort of target fast fashion. She's talked to incredible people about like bacterial gut health, doctors, amazing people. And what I think is so great about this podcast is that Venetia recognises that she herself is not an expert in all of these fields, and so she speaks to the people who are the experts in order to both learn for herself and spread that information, and just encourage people to start looking into topics that interest them. And kind of it often acts as like a sort of springboard for you. If you listen to a podcast that has a really interesting topic, you're not going to hear everything you want to know about that topic in that one podcast episode, but that can then be a really great opportunity to encourage you to go and learn more about that topic that's really interesting to you. But I always find that regardless of who she's speaking to or what the theme of the podcast episode is, it's always just so interesting, and it's always framed around food, which I absolutely love. The podcast always starts with the question, what did you have for breakfast? Which I love because breakfast is just the best meal of the day without a doubt. And then she moves on to asking people about their like history with food, how food played a role in their life growing up. We often hear people talking about their cultural relationship with food, and it's just really, really interesting to hear. It then often delves into the more specific topic for that podcast, how food has played a role in their life going forward. And then it always ends with a really, really fun conclusion where there is a food like fast round where she asks you like this or that for foods, like chocolate and nut butter is a common one, talking or taste buds, and it's just really, really fun, like quick fire, that's what it's called, a foodie quick fire round. Then she also asks people what their like death row dinner would be, which I just think is such an interesting insight into who people are, because I feel like it's just really, really like telling what people love and what they would go for if they could only have one meal left in the entire world. And then finally she also asks people their kitchen essentials. So regardless of what the topic is, you know you're getting a lot of foodie talk in every single episode, and I just think she's such a fun and interesting host. And like I said, as well as her podcast, she has incredible other platforms as well, and I just love Talking Taste Buds because each episode is so unique, and so different. You don't know what you're going to get because she talks to so many different people, but they are all so interesting and just feel like such a great opportunity to learn more. So I'm almost at the end of my cup of chai latte, and I'm also at the end of my June favourites. So those are some of the things that I loved most in the month of June, and it was a really, really lovely month. Like I said, super busy, but I still found plenty of things to enjoy in my spare time. So if there was anything in particular that you loved in June, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And also if you managed to check out any of the things that I've mentioned today, particularly the people on YouTube and the podcast that are really easy for you to just go and check out, definitely let me know if you like them, and of course if you have any podcast or YouTube recommendations as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.